Alright guys, here's a great opportunity to learn Adobe's InDesign's essentials in one single project. However, we're going to be discovering so much about Adobe InDesign in that project, which is, by the way, the standard application when it comes to creating any editorial design, something like portfolio, brochure, flyer, and all these similar categories. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start learning about that one. Once you launch and open InDesign, you will see that interface, which is called home screen. And from here, you can create a new document or open an existing one. And you can access the same as well by going to File, New, Document. And here you can select from Recent, Saved, Print, Web, and Mobile. In most of the cases, when you're about to use InDesign, you're going to be selecting Print. And here you can find different presets and sizes. We have A4, letter, legal, and tabloid. And you can click on the plus to view all presets. So let's say we're gonna go with A4 size. And we have our dimension on right. You can select a name from the start. And we have units as well. You can select maybe inches or centimeters if you would like. I'm gonna go with millimeters as it is. Orientation if you would like to go with landscape. Binding, if you're using a left to right language, you're going to be selecting that option in here. And if you're going with right to left, you're going to be going with that one. Then how many pages you would like to have within your document. You can maybe select 6 pages. And a starting page will be 1. We're not going to be checking that one, primary text frame, as graphic designers rarely use that option. Then we do have columns. If you would like to start maybe with 3-4 columns within your document. And also we're not gonna assign that one right now, we can do it later within our document. And also we're gonna deal with gutter later. Then we have margins and bleed in that area. So by default you will have 1/2 inch as margin, or safe area within your printed document, not to place your design elements in there. And I'm talking here about important design elements like type or so, not to get trimmed by mistake while your papers are being cut at the printer. Then we do have bleed area, and you're gonna need bleed if you're going to print your document in CMYK, or generally speaking you're gonna be trimming your document if it's being printed on large paper sheet. So usually you're printing these A4 paper size on larger paper sheets, maybe A3 or even A1 paper size. Then you're gonna be trimming or cutting that paper sheet and stacking these printed A4 or A3 pages on top of each others. So you will need to add some bleed around your A4 paper size as a safe area for any trimmer deviation error. Usually it's about 3mm to 5mm. We can go with 3 for now. And anytime you would like to unlink these values, you can do so from here. And if you would like to preview that before you create your document, you can do so. And let's ignore slug for now. Create. So that's how our newly created document looks like. We have a first page. You can see that we have pages panel on right side. And we do have our first page in here. We can scroll down to see 2 and 3. Let's collapse the panel. Scrolling down, we have 4 and 5. We can double click 6 to check that one. And usually 1 will be including your front cover, and 6 will be including your back cover, and inside pages will be within these spreads, or 2 pages facing each other. And that's how you can create a blank document in InDesign. However, I want to show you guys one more cool thing within InDesign. You can start with a template right away and maybe customize that template a little bit and you're good to go. So let's see how we can customize and access these templates. Let's close that one and let's create new again. And within maybe print, again you can see that we have templates in here. If you don't see them in here, you might see a blue link where you can access to view templates. Scrolling down, you will see that we have amazing templates in there, and they are done by professional designers, and they are free as well, included within your Adobe subscription. So maybe you can check that one in here. So let's maybe select that one, and it's free as you can see. You can see also preview from here to check how that looks like. And here we can see template details, including size. And usually these photos are for preview only, they're not gonna be included within your downloaded file. So if you like that one, you can click in here, download. Let's go back and select one of these. I already have some of them downloaded in here. So here, for example, we have modern studio book layout. We have minimal brochure layout and some posters, and even we do have stationery as well. So let's maybe select that one. You can see preview in here. We do have A4 and US letterhead layouts. So here they are bearing in mind people who are using standard A4 size and people who are using US letter size. Also, it's including business card, envelope, and folder layouts. And it's also including paragraph and character styles. So let's maybe open one of these and see how that looks like. Open. And that one in here is a business card. You can start typing your name, Abraham, for example, and you can type your phone, email, and you're good to go. You can select your selection tool, double click on page 2, which is including business card back cover. Then we do have envelope in here. Let me zoom out. So you can type your brand's name in here and you have yourself a nice cover. You can also change colors or add some type here or there. But initially you're starting with a layout which is really amazing and cool. And also let's discover how we can access these A4 and letter size. So here in our pages panel, if we click on that hamburger menu, you can hover over view pages and select by alternate layout. We can see that we have our alternates in here. We have card, envelope, and A4 letterhead. And let's even expand the panel a bit. Here we can see the US letterhead and also we can see a folder. So if we double click that one, which is A4 letterhead, and we move to properties panel, selecting the tool in here, page tool, we can see that we have A4 size, and even we can change our units instead of points to millimeters, right clicking on that ruler, which you can access if you don't see it in here by pressing Command or Control R. And you have to do the same as well for that vertical one, right click in here, millimeters. So currently we have width and height in millimeters. If you want to go with inches, if you want to go with centimeters, that's totally up to you guys. We can switch back to pages panel. We can select that US letterhead. Moving back to properties panel, we can see that we have a different dimensions in here. Basically we have the same layout but in different sizes for the same letterhead, which is really cool. And you can also access margins and columns from here. So let's zoom in a bit so we can see how that looks like. We can press W to hide our margin area, and that area will be bleed area. So pressing W, that's our design in here. Looks very cool. Actually, you can insert your brand name in here or even insert your logo. If you don't like any of these design elements, you can remove them and you can start customizing the text according to your needs. So that's one template in here. Let's go quickly and discover another one. Closing that one in here. We're not gonna save anything. Create new. And let's select maybe that minimal brochure layout. We do have 16 pages within that one. Open and let's see how that looks like. We can hide our margins and bleed pressing W on keyboard. So that's our cover. Scrolling down, we do have inside pages 1 and 2 and more pages in here. Of course, we don't have images within these frames. You can place your images within these frames, but at least you're starting with an existing design. You have layout, you have colors, you have text styles, and it's not really recommended that you go ahead and use that template as it is. You might need to change colors, tweak that layout a bit, and so on and so forth. But that's also a great feature in Adobe InDesign. And even before you start using these templates, you need to learn about InDesign basics first, so you can easily change that color and edit that text and even customize your master pages for each and every design. And by the way guys, if you would like to get your original view for that panel, you can go to that hamburger menu again, view pages, then let's select vertically, then here we are back as it was. So let's go ahead and discover more about these templates, closing that one once again, not saving, create new, and scrolling down. And even if you don't like any of these templates in here, you can search for other terms. So maybe you can be searching for medical or so, and clicking go. In that case, it's going to be searching in Adobe stock website for that medical term. It's going to be offering you some brochures and maybe flyers as well on different layouts. However, not everything in here that you're seeing is for free, but at least you can buy any design that you like. So maybe you like that one in here, you can click on that one. You can preview that design, and if you like it, you can buy a license. So yeah, it's not free, but still it's an amazing feature and you can access that one. Especially if you're doing that for clients and you're getting paid as well. This could be a nice option as well. So let's dive deep into Adobe InDesign and master that amazing application. Here we have Adobe InDesign opened, and you might notice it's so similar to Photoshop and Illustrator as well, and actually it is. There are so many similarities between these applications. So here on left side we have our toolbar, including similar tools that you can find as well in Photoshop and Illustrator, like selection tools in here. We have pen tool as well, and vector drawing tools, gradient tools, and even here we have fill and stroke colors. So hopefully you feel more familiar by now. We have our panels as well. They are similar to Photoshop. We have properties panel, which will be playing the role of the application bar, control bar, or option bar. That bar that's always been in here in Illustrator and Photoshop. And if you would like to get that control or application bar again, you can select from here. From our workspaces, we have Essentials selected. You can select Essentials Classic, which will be revealing that application bar once again. And if you're using quite an old version of Adobe InDesign, this will be your default interface. However, if you have a newer version of InDesign, let's go ahead and select Essentials. Then let's click on Essentials once again, and let's reset Essentials. Just to make sure that you have the same tools and same panels as well, just like me, and you can easily follow along through that course. And of course, in future videos, we'll be adding more panels to our right side, which you can find in Window in your Applications menu. So here you can see more panels for your application. Needless to mention that we have our pages in the center, as you can see. So currently we have 4 pages document. They are facing pages, as you can see in Properties panel. That's our cover, and its orientation is left to right. You can be scrolling in here to see other pages. That will be your first page, second page, and so on and so forth. You can scroll from here or from here, or scrolling by your trackpad or mouse. And you can zoom and pan using these tools in here. Hand tool will be enabling you to pan, or using your trackpad as well. And if you would like to zoom, you can press Command or Control plus or minus to zoom in and out, or using that magnifier as well in here. Zoom tool, we have the same shortcuts. That one will be Z, and here we have H. It's just like using Photoshop and Illustrator, and hopefully you're feeling more comfortable about that new application to you guys. And if you'd like to save your file, you can go to File from your menu, then select Save, and you can give it a name in here and where you would like to save it, and keep using the same InDesign native file format. We will be talking about different file formats as well later, like for example how to create a template. However, once you're done, click Save and you're good to go. And now let's get our hands dirty and see Adobe InDesign in action. We're gonna be designing right away. And now it's time to see Adobe InDesign in action, and we're gonna be designing that cover in here. That could be a brochure cover or even a book cover. Basically the concept is the same in InDesign. and I've designed that cover for Sahara Petroleum Services, or Sapesco, a great company that I've been working for as a designer, so that's actually a real project. So without further ado, let's jump into Adobe InDesign. That's actually Photoshop. I'm trying to demonstrate that one in here, pressing escape. And by the way guys, you will find that mockup file in your resources, along of course with that Adobe InDesign project. So here we can check that one. That's our mockup file. We have the Photoshop file and also a JPEG. And also we have the InDesign file if you would like to follow along. Or you can start from scratch and open an empty file in Adobe InDesign. And you will find your different design assets in that PSD file in here. We're gonna see that in action. So let's go to InDesign. That's our project file in here. We have our cover, and that's when it's in spread. So we have the front cover and back cover as well. And that's our mockup file. We're not gonna be working on that file in here. This is just for you so you can imagine how it's going to look like. So let's start our design from scratch, going to that document in here. And before we start, it's really recommended that you go ahead and grab your coffee or tea or whatever you would like to drink, because seriously you can get to know so much about InDesign tools, panels and different features in that video. So here, as you can see in that document, we have 4 pages A4 size, and they are facing pages left to right since it's in English. And we have our margins in millimeters. That's half an inch, by the way, because 1 inch equals 254 millimeters. And this should be our front cover and this should be our back cover. However, we're going to be designing our cover in these 2 pages in here, or that spread. Facing pages are called spreads, if you don't know that. And simply we're going to design our cover in these 2 pages or that spread in here to easily visualize everything and make a coherent front and back covers. So let's zoom in. Remember, you can also zoom in and out using Command or Control plus and minus, like so. And here, as you can see, we have 50% zoom level, and that would be our pages. And you can also access your pages from your panels, remember that. Currently we have 2 and 3 selected. Let's go back to our properties panel. And since we're going to print that file, we need to add bleed to our pages as well. So let's go to File and Document Setup. And let's add 5 millimeters. And we already have all values linked, as you can see, so we can click anywhere in here. And we already have nice 5 millimeters around our pages. That bleed area is a safe area around our design file. In case any shifting happens while our pages are being cut, maybe to right, left, or up or down by a millimeter or 2, it's not going to be affecting our design. And that's why we extend our design elements to that edge. And if you do already have design elements existing in your pages and you decided to add bleed later, just like we did right now, you can adjust your layout by pressing in here, adjust layout. And I know this is quite technical in the start, however this is going to make your life much easier in the future. So let's press OK anyway. So let's start by placing our graphics or our background image in that case, which happens to be an oil rig. Remember, this is a petroleum services company, and oil rigs will be a great idea in that case. So you can start by searching some different images for oil rigs. Here you can see my research. At that point, I've been looking for different images for oil rigs, and also I had a minimal design art direction in mind, which is, by the way, one of the strongest art directions in brochures and catalogs and stuff like that. So if you ask me guys what I recommend to go for, I will tell you go for minimal design style. It can easily defeat any other design style. So anyway, you'll find that image in your resources, PSD file, and we have that one opened as well in Photoshop. So let's go quickly to Photoshop. That's our image. In that case, we're going for a symbolic image with a white background. And to easily blend your image as well, you can add a mask, like so, by clicking on your Add Vector Mask. Then you can select your brush, pressing B, and make sure you have a feathered brush as well, and black in your foreground. Then you can start painting around your edges like that, maybe in here as well. If you're looking for that vague undefined edges style, And in that case, we're using masks to save our image. Remember undestructive editing techniques. And also I adjusted that image's size to A4 size while I started with a smaller image, so we can press Option and click in here. That's our original image size. And looks like we have some destruction already made in here. But that's totally fine. We have the original image and there is no much work here to lose. So let's get our layers back, pressing Option and clicking in here once again. Also can check our image's size by pressing Option, Command and I, or Alt, Control and I for Windows users. And let's transform that one to millimeters. And here, as you can see, we have an A4 size image, and also we have a high res image, 300 ppi or pixels per inch, and it's quite a large image as well. So let's cancel that. And also we happen to have the company's logo as well in that file, actually in that layer, to make your life easier. However, we'll talk about that logo in a while, so let's disable that one. But remember that it's in here as well to make your life easier. So now we have our image ready. We can save that one as a JPEG file or even a TIFF file for a higher quality, which I really recommend in that case. So let's go ahead, File, Save As, and here we have our file's name. I'm not gonna change that one. It's a very interesting name, as you can see. And from our formats, we're gonna be selecting TIFF, okay? Then you can click Save. However, I do already have that one saved, so I'm gonna cancel that. And now let's import that image in our InDesign file. Going back to InDesign, well, simply you can drag and drop your image in here right away. However, it's even better to use that tool in here, rectangle frame tool, drawing our frame for our image all the way to here. We need to drag that one, selecting our move tool, and drag that one exactly to the center. And we do already have the snap feature enabled. And you can make sure that that one is working by going to View, Guides and Grids, or Grids and Guides, and make sure you have that one enabled. Snap to Guides. And now let's go to our Resources folder, selecting InDesign Projects, and we have our image as TIFF. Let's drag and drop that one. And now it's being placed in our frame, as you can see. And you might notice that we have a thin white line in here between our center and our image, that line. And that's mainly because we didn't compensate for our bleed area as well. We do have some bleed around our A4 file size, or A4 page size in that case. So what we're going to do in that case is to reposition our image and maybe transform it a bit. So let's zoom out. And let me tell you guys how that frame is working. That's basically a clipping mask. So if you drag your frame from any side like so, it's gonna be clipping your image. It's not gonna be transforming or cropping your image. It's just clipping your image. You can get it back again by dragging that slider all the way to here. And if you're going to move your frame, it's gonna be moving your image as well. But let's undo that, Command or Control Z twice. And if you'd like to reposition your image within your frame, you can hover over your frame till you see that circle once again. And if you click in here in the center of that circle, you can select your image and move it around. So now we have our frame in the same location as it was. However, we have our image moved a little bit higher and so on. So let's drag our image to the center. So currently guys, we have our image selected. However, let's go back and select our frame once again, selecting our move tool and clicking on our frame. And once you have your frame selected, you will see those squares in here, that blue one and that yellow one. And we will be discovering these squares in a while. However, now let's see how we can transform our image while we have our frame selected. You can hover to that corner in here, then pressing Command and Shift and dragging will be transforming your image. So let's undo that. And let's slightly reduce our image size by pressing Command or Control Shift, then dragging a bit inside like so. And by the way, you will also see that link or chain icon in here, which means that we have a linked or placed file, and that image is not actually existing in our InDesign file. So let's quickly check how that looks like by pressing Alt or Option key and clicking in here. Now we have our links panel opened. So we can see our image in here. We can see more information like name, format, which page. We have that link. And scrolling down, you can see more as well. Color space, CMYK, size, and also we have resolution, which is really important in that kind of design. We're working on print design file. We need a high res in here. And also we have dimensions in pixels and so on. So actually you cannot delete that file or even move its location on your hard disk unless you create a package folder for that file, which we'll discuss later through that course. But for now you cannot delete your images or move them. I cannot stress that enough, okay? Anyway, let me show you guys one more interesting feature about your images in InDesign and how you can edit that one in Photoshop while you're working on your image. So currently we have our image selected. We can collapse that panel, right click in here, and you'll find edit with. And let's select Photoshop, and now we have our image opened in Photoshop. And let's say you would like to add a color touch in here, and let's maybe create a new layer, do any kind of changes to our file, make a quick selection in here and drag that one, selecting a red color, any kind of color, pressing Alt or Option key and backspace, then pressing Command or Control D. And now once we save that, it's going to update in InDesign as well. So let's press Command or Control S and pressing OK. Okay. And now let's go back to our InDesign file. Here we have our image updated, as you can see. You can go to your links panel if you don't see that update for any reason, and you can click on that icon in here to update your link. And if you would like to open that link, you can click in here, go to that link, or you can click in here to relink your image if you moved that one to another location, or if you have that image in your CC libraries, you can relink that one from there. And also anytime you can edit original by clicking in here. So anyway, let's go back and delete that layer. I don't really need it. We're gonna do that one in InDesign, by the way. Pressing Command and Control S again. Now we have that one saved. Let's go back to our InDesign file. Now you can see that we have that layer gone. And let's collapse our links panel once again. And now let's go ahead and bring our logo. And let me show you guys more tricks by going to Illustrator that time instead of Photoshop. And as you can see guys, we have the same design done in Illustrator as well. And that's totally fine. You can make your covers in Photoshop or even Illustrator, then bring them to Adobe InDesign, or even you can design them from scratch in InDesign, especially if they don't have too much graphics and effects. However, InDesign really excels in multi-pages design, like brochures, books, catalogs, or even flyers. So let me show you guys what I did in here. Here we have our company's logo. By the way, it looks like that. We're using a wide version of our logo in that case. Zooming in, that's a wide version, and we have a background rectangle. It's a red one. And also we do have another background rectangle for shadow with some feather effect. So let me select that rectangle in here and move it to right. Actually, we need to only select that one, selecting the direct selection tool. I'm gonna select that rectangle, move tool, let's move it to here so you can see better. Okay, and we have our appearance panel opened as well. Scrolling down, you can see that we have feather effect applied. You can click in here to see that we have 0.4 centimeters applied to our rectangle. And also I've moved that anchor point a bit to bottom so I can get that nice shadow effect. Pressing cancel, and let's undo that, Command or Control Z, because I need to have some nice focal point on our logo or our brand's name in that case, or you can say that's our main element in that cover. So I added that nice shadow effect and I added more red area to our logo. Anyway, let me show you guys cool tricks to import that vector file into our InDesign file. First of all, we can select our vector file, which is our logo in that case with that background. Let me press Shift and deselect these rectangles or these elements as well. First of all, you can press Command or Control C to copy that vector file, and if you have a newer version of Adobe InDesign, you can right away paste that one into your InDesign file by going back to InDesign application and pressing Command or Control V. But before we do that, make sure that you don't have anything selected like that frame in that case. So let's click outside while having our move tool selected, clicking in here, pressing Command or Control V, and now we have our vector file placed in Adobe InDesign, which is a new feature, by the way, in Adobe InDesign, that you can be placing vector files, scalable vector files. You can press Shift and drag, and it's gonna be maintaining its resolution, as you can see. And anyway, let's undo that. That's one way to place our vector files. We didn't use frames in that case. You can see that we have our raw vector file. Let's drag that one a bit to here. And if you're using an older version of Adobe InDesign, you can use your libraries, CC libraries, for example. Let's go back to our Illustrator, and we have libraries opened. You can create a new library. I've created that one for InDesign. Double clicking in here, we have an empty folder. We can drag and drop, and it's telling me there might be some changes because we have a legacy format. That's totally fine. Let's see how that will look like anyway. Okay, now we have our vector file added to our library. We can go back to InDesign, then let's select our libraries. Here we have our graphics showing. We can drag and drop that one. However, in that case, it's coming with a frame as well. You can tell from these squares that yellow and blue squares. So if we drag that bounding box, it's going to be clipping our vector file. It's not going to be resizing our file. And if you would like to resize your file, make sure that you press Command and Shift and drag that corner. Let's double click in here to get our vector file showing. That's another trick with frames. If it's hiding or clipping some of your graphics, you can double click to see everything. And if you have too large frame like so, you can double click to collapse that frame around your graphics. So let's use that one in here. It's nice and it has a frame. That one doesn't, so let's delete that one and move that one to here. The other way, if you don't have libraries in your InDesign and you don't have Adobe InDesign CC, then you can easily export your files from Illustrator as a JPEG or TIFF file format as well, by going to File, then selecting Export, and you can select Export As. And once you have that one as a JPEG, you can go to your InDesign and drag and drop that logo, or instead of dragging and dropping that logo, you can place that file by going to File. If you don't like to drag and drop, you can go to File, then you can select Place or Command or Control D. Then let me show you guys another feature as well. We're going to be selecting our mockup file. I know we're not going to be using that design in our spread. Let's click Open. And since we had that frame selected, we had our image placed in here. So let's undo that. And now we have our imported image moving with our mouse cursor. Let's click anywhere, maybe that corner. So now that's our image within a frame as well. So let's maybe clip that image all the way to here, and let's maybe move it to the bleeding area as well, since we have a color in that case. I know we're not going to be using that image, but I'm trying to tell you about something in here, because in that image it doesn't really matter. We have a white background for that image, and we're going to be printing also on white paper. So we don't really have to extend our design file all the way to our bleed edges. However, if we do have colors like that image in here, we need to extend our design element all the way to our bleed area. And let's say you would like to fit that image within your page. You can right click on your image, then you'll find fitting. Then we can fit our content to frame by clicking in here. Now we have some distortion happened, as you can see. And that's why I usually prepare my images in Photoshop before I bring them in here or even Illustrator, so I can really make sure that I have the right resolution and proportions as well. So anyway, we don't need that image, so let's delete that one, pressing delete or backspace. And let me tell you guys before we move on that you already have gone so far in InDesign, by the way, till that point. You have created some pages, margins, bleeds, you've seen some frames, you've been working with graphics and taking care of resolution as well. And also you've been importing or placing vector files in different ways. And now it's time to deal with text as well, which is really so easy, by the way. So let's dive in right away. In order to place text in our design, we need to select type tool as well. Same like Photoshop and Illustrator. However, we need to place our type also into frames. So let's go to that area and click and drag. So currently we have a text frame as well. So let's maybe type energy starts here. And let's open our character panel by going to window from our applications menu. Then here we have type and tables. We have character panel. You can also access that one from your properties panel as well if you're using a new version of Adobe InDesign. So let's close that one and let's highlight our type, Command or Control A, selecting everything. Then let's select maybe 24 points or even more. Let's make it 45. And now you'll see that our type is going beyond our text frame. And you'll see that we have a little red plus icon in here, which means that we have overflow text or not all our type is showing within our frame. So in that case, we can select our move tool. Then we can resize our frame by dragging that side. Then let's reselect our type once again, double clicking in here, maybe triple clicking to select everything. Then let's reduce our lines height as well. Basically, we have the same character panel just like Photoshop and Illustrator. We can do so from here. We have line height or leading. We can select something maybe like 30. That's too low, maybe 36. Or even we can use our arrows to see better. And we do already have Myriad Pro selected as our font. Let's make it light. Just to go with our minimal style that way. Then scrolling down in our properties panel, we can change case as well. Make it uppercase. And let's add some tracking as well. Pressing shift and clicking up. Now we have set our titles style. We can save that style, by the way. So scrolling up in our properties panel, you'll find that we have text style in here. Let's select our character styles. Currently we have none. We can add that as a style by clicking on that plus, which is going to save you so much time if you're going to use the same style over and over again. So let's add that one. Cover title style and pressing return. So now we have that one. You can edit that one anytime by tapping these items in here. Basic character format. You can change your font style, size, and so on and so forth. And of course, in that case, it's gonna be also affecting your main title and everything in your document. And by the way, here in general, you can see a preview of your style or style settings. You can see that you have your font, light, language, digits, and everything in here. So let's cancel that for now. And let's start working on our titles colors. So let's make energy in red, same like our logo. Selecting that one in here. And here on right side, you can see appearance. You can click on that T. And here you can see that we have white as paper. And it's gonna be 0 CMYK. Our cyan, magenta, yellow, black. And in black, we have 100% black. And 0 cyan, magenta, and yellow. Which is really important when it comes to printing your documents. To use that black especially for your type. To have a very crisp and sharp type. Because using other colors might be shifted around your black. Then here we have pure cyan, magenta, and yellow. And scrolling down in here, guys, you can see that color in here, which is our logo's red color. So we can select that one. And it's added by default to our swatches once we imported that vector file. However, if you would like to add more colors to your swatches, you can press in here and you can adjust that one by double clicking on that color. You can type your values in here, or even you can use your eyedropper tool. So let's cancel that, deselecting our type, selecting our move tool and clicking anywhere. Now we can use our eyedropper tool and maybe select that gray color. Now we have that one added in here. We can open our swatches, color, swatches. Then here we have that color. We can drag and drop that one to our panel. So let's go back to our type, selecting our type tool or pressing T on keyboard and selecting these two lines in here. And let's make them in gray. Going to color, we're going to be selecting maybe 60% gray, 60, and clicking anywhere outside. You will see that you have that gray applied to your type, like so. Now let's deselect our type, pressing Command or Control, clicking anywhere outside, selecting our move tool. We have our type. We can double click in here to readjust our frame, fitting our type in that case. And let's move our type a bit to here, reducing our logo size, selecting our logo, pressing Command and Shift or Control and Shift and dragging inside a bit. And let's also reduce our images size a bit, holding Command or Control and Shift. And now let's go ahead and draw a line, selecting our line tool, just like Illustrator guys. Let's press Command or Control to deselect our frame first, then going all the way like that, while holding Shift key to have a straight line. Hopefully you still remember that. Here we have our fill color. It's not gonna show anyway because we have a two-dimensional line. And we have our stroke color. We can click in here to change the color all the way to 60% gray as well. We could have added that one to our swatches as well. So we can add that one to our swatches. And currently we have a 60% black. And we have our strokes width as well, 1 point. And you can change opacity if you would like. Now let's deselect everything so we can see it better, pressing Command and Control and clicking outside. And by the way guys, it's time to step back for a second and take a quick deep look into our visuals and maybe learn about a new and cool shortcut as well. So currently guys, as you can see, we have our margins line showing in here and we have our bleed line in red, and also we do have our images frame, which might be too many guides at some point. It might be distracting your visual decisions as a designer as well. So every now and then you can press W on your keyboard to hide your bleed area along with your guides, so you can really focus on your visuals and make a better decision. So in that case, we're trying to achieve a triangular relationship between our design elements, our logo and photo, and also our type. So maybe we need to space them a bit. So selecting our move tool, selecting our photo. And remember, in order to move our photo, we need to hover over that circle in the center, then click and drag, pressing Shift key to align it as well, maybe all the way to here. Then we need to select our title as well along with our vector line. We can click in here and drag like so. However, in that case, we have our background photo selected as well, so we can press Shift and click to deselect that image. Or even we can lock that image in place by selecting only that background image, then going to Object, you will find Lock, or pressing Command or Control L. And whenever you would like to unlock everything on spread, you can select that option later. So let's lock that image for now to easily select our design elements. Now we have our type and our line. We're going to be selecting both of these elements. And let's make sure they are perfectly aligned to each other's. So here on right side we have our align panel as well. Make sure that you are clicking in here and select align to selection instead of page. Then let's center them. Then for easier movement and selection for our design elements, our type and vector line, we can group these two elements Just like Illustrator, we can press Command or Control G, and now we have a group, and you can find the same commands as well in your object panel. You'll find group in here, and you can ungroup them using the same shortcut for Illustrator as well, Shift, Command or Control G. So now you can easily select both of them and move them around. And if you would like to access any design element within your group, you can double click on that line. Now we have that line selected. Maybe we can shorten that a bit. And let's realign both of them. Actually, I'm going to ungroup that, selecting both of them, then realigning them again. And we can nudge our design elements a bit to left by clicking left arrow along with Shift. Or you can use single increment as well without using Shift key. And now let's add some decorative elements to our design, minimal ones of course. So let's go ahead and select our rectangle tool, which is going to be drawing a vector rectangle in that case. Just like Illustrator and Photoshop, we have the same tools in there. Then I'm gonna be deselecting my frame by pressing Command or Control and clicking outside. Then let's draw that one in here, removing our stroke by making that 0, fill color, selecting the same red color we have for our logo. Then let's go ahead and select our move tool, and let's duplicate the same rectangle on our back cover as well by holding down Alt or Option key, then duplicating that one in here. As we're going to place our company's website in here, and let's go ahead and draw another rectangle as well at the bottom of our page as well. So let's bring our bleed area again, drawing our rectangle like so. We have the smart guides helping us, so we have that one aligned with our type already. We can hold Command or Control to increase its width a bit, and let's remove fill color, selecting none, and let's have a dashed gray stroke as well. So selecting our stroke, type, dashed. There's nothing new here, as you can see guys, it's all coming from Illustrator or Photoshop. Let's select gray by clicking on that square, going to our black 60%, clicking outside so we can see how it looks like. And let's hide our guides again, pressing W, and let's place some type in here. That could be your current year, volume 1 or anything. Selecting our type tool, and if we click right away we're going to be typing on frame, so let's click outside and drag, highlighting our type, then changing its color, make it red as well, selecting our move tool, pressing V, then let's make it a bit bigger. Before we move our type, we can double click on our frame, so we can easily align our type as well if we wanted to. Now you can see that we are aligning that one with our back cover as well, and that's why in first place I placed my front and back cover in front of each others in a spread, so I can easily align my design elements like so, and even duplicate some design elements like that rectangle, and also duplicating our brand's website. So in that case I'm gonna be duplicating that one in here by selecting our type, holding down Alt or Option key and pressing Shift as well to duplicate it on the same line. And here we go. Now we have another smart guide telling us that's the center of our page. We're gonna realign that one again. Let's type our website first, double clicking our type, Command or Control A to select everything. Now we can't see our type. We have overflow text and we have one error, as you can see in here. You can click in here to check your errors, by the way, by opening that pre-flight panel. You can see that you have overset text, and you can see that you have a text frame issue on page 2. So let's go and fix that. Enlarging our frame. We can double click to fit our frame once again. And now we can align our website to the page in that case. So scrolling down, we have our align panel in here. Remember guys that you can access all these panels in your window as well. Sometimes you might need to be looking for them under some categories like color. You can find swatches and so on and so forth. So in that case, let's go back to our align panel, align to page. Then let's center that. Actually, I forgot to add some tracking to our website. It's gonna be looking much nicer that way. Let's add 100 and let's re-enlarge that, double clicking again, then realigning that one. And let's maybe add some space in here to our text, selecting that one once again. Maybe let's make it 12 as it was. And let's align those two elements. Go into align panel to selection. We need to double click in here, selecting both of them and center. And here you have it guys, we have a nice clean minimal cover design in Adobe InDesign. And believe me guys, you've gotten most of InDesign's main concepts in that video. We've been working with graphics, images, type, alignment, multi-pages design, and even using Photoshop and Illustrator to enhance our design. So if you want to really digest 80% of InDesign, you can start practicing that design on your own and get your hands dirty in InDesign. And now it's time to dive even deeper into Adobe InDesign. Alright guys, down to designing the inside part of our brochure. And let's go ahead and see our full spread, as it's not really obvious in that mockup in here. That's actually a BSD Photoshop file. Pressing escape and you'll find that file in your resources as well. And by the way guys, if you would like to find a similar mockup file, you can Google maybe brochure mockup file and you'll find tons of free mockup files online, maybe through freebec.com or similar websites, or even you can find some cool premium ones as well, especially on Adobe stock. So let's move to InDesign, and that's what we're going to design for the inside spread of our brochure. So of course here we have two A4 pages facing each other, and in that layout we're gonna use rule of thirds, as it's very aesthetically pleasing, plus it's very similar to the golden ratio as well. But just to make our life easier, we're gonna be using rule of thirds in that one. And we're gonna be starting our design process by building our layout grid, which is gonna be a unique grid by the way, but I assure you guys you will learn a lot in that one. So that's our final design. Let's scroll up in here. You'll find that we have the same grid but in colors, so you can easily visualize that one. And even if we press W, we can see our grid better. And if we scroll up again, we can see our grid without any colors. And that's why I added some colors, so you can imagine how it's going to look like. But anyways, that should be helping you guys to imagine what we're going to do. So here, for example, we have 3 columns within our pages. And also we have some frames for our images, or maybe our types. That's a frame. Another one in here, populating third of our layout, and here we have another frame as well. So anyway, before we start building our grid, let's add that control bar to our application by going to Window and select Control. And remember guys, we're using Essentials, so we do already have Properties panel, so we can easily customize our design elements. And also maybe you need to add Effects panel by the way, that one in here. So we can access opacity for our design elements if we needed to. And also you need to open layers panel as well. You'll find that one in here. And now let's go ahead and start building our layout grid. So scrolling down all the way to here. And you know what? Actually, we're going to be designing in the same document as well. So we can easily cheat from our existing design. So let's go to pages. And here we have page 8 and 9. We can select that one and add 2 new pages. And currently, as you can see guys, we don't have any columns within our spread. So let's select both of them, holding Shift key and clicking on that 10th page. Then selecting Layout, Margins and Columns. And adding 3 columns. And we have almost 4 millimeters gutter. And make sure you remember that one, and you'll see why when we're building our grid. Pressing OK. And you know what guys, if that was a symmetrical layout, not rule of thirds, we would have used the documents grid or even the baseline grid. And let me show you guys these two grids first. So here we have our properties panel and we have our move tool selected and we have nothing selected in that case. So here we have our rulers and grids. Here are our rulers. You can press Command or Control R as well to enable or disable them. And here we have our baseline grid, which is not visible in that case, and I'll tell you why. In that case, if you want to see it, you can go to 75% and you will see that one, and I'll show you guys how you can change that value. But mainly that grid can be used for your lines or your type. So for example, you have too much type and you want to have maybe 70 lines within your pages. That baseline grid can be helpful in that case. And also we have the documents grid as well, which you are probably familiar with in Photoshop and Illustrator, that common grid. And let's go and customize these grids. Go into preferences. If you're using Windows, make sure you select that one from edit. For Mac users, you can go to preferences and we have grids. Here we have baseline grid. You can change its color and a starting point as well, and relevant to maybe margin instead of top of the page, and increments, and that will be depending on your font size and leading, and currently we have 12 points. Then we have view threshold, which is set currently to 75%. You can change that one as well if you would like. Then we have the documents grid. You can change its color, and we have grid line every inch. We can change that one maybe to 20 millimeters, and for vertical as well. And I'm gonna be using only one subdivision to make it a bit simpler. And also you can disable grids in back, so in that case your grid will be on top of your design elements as well. And let's apply that. And actually in that video we're not gonna be heavily relying on that grid, so I'm gonna be disabling that one, and instead I'm gonna be using guides. So I'm gonna be dragging one to that part, which is almost the third of our width, and I'm talking about the entire spread in that case. And let me show you guys how you can calculate that. Basically guys, you need a calculator. So here if we deselect our guide, we can see our document size. Width will be 210 millimeters. That's of course for a single page, which means we need to multiply that number by 2 for our spread. Then we need to divide by 3 to have the third of our width. Sounds like a mathematical tutorial, however it's not that complicated. So here we have our calculator. So here multiplying 210 by 2, then dividing by 3, which is actually 1/3 of our width. So we need to multiply that by 2 to have 2/3. So currently we have 280 millimeters. Going back to InDesign, selecting that guide, that's 285 millimeters, because in that case I'm also adding that gutter value to my distance. And now we need to do the same for our height as well, having a lower third, so dragging a guide. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna apply the same mathematical operation for that guide. So here we have our height 297 millimeters. I'm gonna be selecting my guide and doing that math in here. So I'm gonna type 297 by 3, then multiplying by 2 to have 2/3. Then I can drag another guide as well to that page and select that one, copy that value, Command or Control C, selecting that guide and applying the same value in here, Command or Control V. Now we're going to be placing some frames for our design elements. So selecting the frame tool and drawing a frame from bleed area all the way to the bottom. Then drawing another one from here. Then let's go ahead and add another guide to represent the same space between our columns, but mainly in a horizontal way. So selecting that guide, typing 189 minus 4 millimeters, which is our gutter, and actually 189 is that guide's place or position. and hitting return, then dragging another guide and typing 194. Now we can draw another frame in that part, selecting our frame tool, drawing from bleed area all the way to here. And now to make life easier, let's give them some colors. Selecting that frame, we have that one already selected, going to fill color, and let's give it maybe cyan, and that one will be magenta and yellow, and that will be our main layout grid. And let's also add some more divisions to our grid. So I'm gonna drag a guide from here, and let's divide 297 by 3. Oops, making sure I'm selecting the guide, typing 297 by 3 because we're going to add some type in that part. And by the way guys, if you would like to access more controls for your guide, you can right click that one. You can cut or copy or paste the guide, or if you'd like to lock that one or change its color, you can click on ruler guides. Maybe you can make it a different color. If you don't really see it with these colors, we can select maybe something like gold. Okay, and let's also divide that yellow frame into 2/3 and 1/3. So currently by selecting that frame, we can see its dimensions in here, width and height. So currently we have almost 286 millimeters. We can drag a guide, then deselect that frame first, selecting the guide, typing 286 by 3. Let's multiply that by 2. So currently we have another 1/3 and 2/3 in that frame as well, as we're going to place our type in that part. And you know what guys, let's go ahead and minus our gutter area as well. So we can be slightly shifting the guide a bit to here. So let's minus 4 millimeters. And here you have it guys, that's our layout grid or design grid. By applying that layout grid, you can precisely execute your design in no time. And also if you have multiple pages in your document, you can easily apply a consistent design in no time. Now it's time to place our design elements on our layout grid, and this should be an easy task. Go into File, Place, then you'll find that package folder in your resources, and I'm gonna teach you guys how to create a package as well for your design file, which basically a folder that you can share with your commercial printer or even your colleagues. That one will be including fonts and links, and even InDesign files. INDD will be for recent InDesign versions, and IDML will be for previous InDesign versions, maybe CS4 and stuff like that. And also it will be including a PDF file if anyone wants to check that design without booting InDesign. And in that case we will borrow our design elements from our links. So let's start with that image, and we don't really need to show import options for image, so let's click open. Now once we hover over our frame, you will see those brackets or parentheses over your cursor, which means that we can place that image within that frame. And if we hover over the center, we can see that hand tool, or even we can select the direct selection tool from our tools. Then we can click within our frame to have our image selected, and now I can easily resize that image like so. And also here you can find your image scale, so now we are down to 45%. Then let's deselect that frame and place another image, pressing Command or Control D to place an image, then selecting that image in here, open, and I'm gonna place that one within that frame, then selecting that yellow frame and resizing that one all the way to here, as we're gonna have a solid red color in here, which is our brand's color in that case. Going to our swatches and selecting our brand's color, And now it's time to add our type, so let's collapse that panel. And by the way guys, I also added 2 more guides to that frame in here to also apply rule of thirds within that area. And you can do so by selecting that frame and divide its height by 3. Then place your guides. So I'm gonna deselect that one, selecting type tool, typing outside. Let's type market leader. And selecting everything, pressing Command or Control A, applying 24 points and bold. Then double clicking that frame, moving that title within first column in right page and changing color to white or paper. I need to select type instead. And let's also add that as a heading style in our paragraph styles. Because seriously guys, using styles in InDesign can save you tons of time, and also every InDesign professional is heavily using styles. So try to keep that as a habit. I already have added some styles in here. So currently we have heading and body text, and also we have body justified. Because remember guys, I already designed that one before. However, let's add that one together so you can feel more familiar. And instead of clicking on that plus, we can also press Alt or Option key and click on that one. So we can start with our styles name instead of having that silly paragraph style 1 and 2 and so on and so forth. So I'm gonna call that one heading again. And hitting return. Now we have that one added. And also you can rearrange these styles by going to Window, then Styles, Paragraph Styles. You can drag maybe that one to the top, which will make sense like that. So you have your heading, then body justified, and maybe bullet points as well for your body text and stuff like that. So anyway, let me close that one. And let's duplicate that title once again, maybe in here. Changing its color so you can see it. Type, black. And let's go ahead quickly and cheat from that title. In here we have Operation Excellence. Triple clicking to highlight everything, Command or Control C. Then deselecting that one and selecting our title, Command or Control V. Extending our frame. And now let me show you guys how we can place text from a Word file. Because usually designers don't type in InDesign, we usually get Word files and place them in here. So in most of the cases your client will be providing you with Word files. And in that case, let's go again to File, Place. And here I do have that dummy body text for Sabesco brochure inside. So it's not a real word in here. So let's go ahead and select that one. And in that time we need to show import options for our type. Remember guys to always show import options for your Word files. And I'll tell you why in a second, okay? So let's click open. So forget about everything in that dialog box and go ahead and select that option in here. Remove styles and formatting from text and tables. Because seriously, that could be anything in there and you don't want to have anything in your file. You have a specific styling for your paragraphs and your titles and you don't want to mess with that. However, we need to preserve local overrides, which means that you want to keep any bold or italic styles within that Word file because you don't need to redo them manually in InDesign again. So anyway, let's click OK. And since I forgot to deselect that title in here, we have our type placed in there. So let's press Command or Control Z. And now we have our text again. So let's start by drawing a column all the way to here. And let's zoom in. We need to start by aligning that one to left. So scrolling down, aligning to left. And you'll notice that we have one error in here, and also we do have a red plus icon, which means that we have overset text and we need to start threading our text or overflow it. So clicking in here, then I'm gonna drag on our second column. However, in that case, I'm gonna be breaking that column and going all the way beyond that one, maybe to here. And that's mainly, guys, because we don't have to stick to everything within our layout grid. We can sometimes break our grids, that's totally fine. They are here to help us, not to restrict us. Plus, I didn't really break my overall layout. I still have a third and 2/3 in here. And maybe when we zoom out, you'll see better. However, let's select that column and maybe drag it a little bit like so. Selecting type tool and selecting my text to make sure that I have the right size. For my font, I have 10 points and 12 points leading, and I have the right font as well. And I can save that one as a style by holding or pressing Alt or Option key and clicking on that plus. And I'll name that one as body or body text or so. And I also can apply that one to make sure I have the same style. However, as you can see, guys, that style is only applied to that paragraph within our text. So in order to apply that body style to the entire text, we need to highlight everything, pressing Command or Control A, then go into paragraph style, selecting body text. And let's go quickly and check that style. So here we have that one, clicking on that bin, style options. And let's select indents and spacing. And let's preview that. And let's add first line indent. And let's also add some space after. Then pressing OK, readjusting our type, extending that one all the way to here, and that one as well. And you know what, guys, actually I'm gonna be removing that line because I don't really like to see that overset text, and simply I'm doing that because it's a dummy text. However, if that was a real text, probably I will be moving that type a bit higher and maybe reducing font size a bit, all the way maybe to 9 points, and maybe add -5 tracking or so. However, I'm gonna be removing that because that's easier for now. Also, guys, while we do have that text selected, you can see that line in here, which means that we have a story, or that text is being flowing from that left side to right side, or from that column to that one, from that outport all the way to that import within that column. So if you ever move that column around, you can see how it's flowing. Anyway, let's undo that, Command or Control Z. And if you don't see that threading line, you can enable that one by going to View, Extras, then you can show text threads. Anyway, let's go back and add more type, moving to that part. And before I add my type, I need to add a background frame for that one. So let's maybe select rectangle tool, zooming in a bit. I'm gonna draw that one in paste board. To have a perfect square, you need to press Shift while dragging as well. And I need to have a diagonal cut within that square. So I'm gonna duplicate that one, pressing V to have my selection tool, then pressing Alt or Option key and dragging that one to duplicate it. And let's rotate that one 45 degrees while holding Shift key to have a perfect 45 degrees. And I'm gonna drag that one all the way to here, maybe like so. Then selecting both of these shapes, going to Window, then Object and Layout, selecting Pathfinder, then selecting that shape, Subtract, and let's add that one to our panels as well. And now let's change its color, removing that stroke, none. Fill color, I'm gonna go for our red. However, I'm gonna give it some transparency as well. So from here, FX, you can access transparency, or even you can open that FX panel and type maybe 85%. And let's move that one to here. Let's enlarge that one a bit. And let's select our type tool, drawing a frame like so. Placeholder text. From our properties panel, moving that one over our frame. And let's change its color to white. Text, paper. And now let's justify that paragraph and add some wrapping to our type as well. So let me show you guys what I mean by that. Scrolling up to that one. That's justification. We have our text aligned to right and left, and also wrapping our type around that object in here. Hopefully you can see that one, guys. That's a vector shape. and by moving that shape it's gonna be pushing our type like so. So actually we have that type wrapped around that shape. So let's quickly go ahead and do that together. Let's undo that first. And now first let's reduce that font size, selecting 9, and let's add more type as well. Then justifying our type, adding more text. Well, to be honest with you guys, I don't really like justification and I don't really use it that much because of hyphenation or these dashes in here or even weird spaces as you can see. However, we have some way around that which might reduce that damage a bit. So first of all, let's add that as a paragraph style. Pressing Alt or Option key and clicking that plus, and let's call it justified body, 9 points again. Return, and let's edit our paragraph style. Let's go first to hyphenation, and let's go ahead and select better spacing, and instead of breaking our words after 2 letters, let's make it 3, and before last 3 as well. Then let's go to justification, and here we're gonna make it hard on InDesign a bit. So for that letter spacing, let's add -2, just minor adjustments in here, and between maximum will be 2. And for glyph scaling as well, let's make that one 98% and 102. And let's also reduce word spacing a bit, all the way to 120 and 90. And of course guys, you might need to change these values according to your situation or your taste or even your type's case. So maybe it's working within that square shape with that font size and that font as well. However, we might be changing these values a bit according to different scenarios. So let's apply that. And now let's move to another check, which is wrapping that type around an object. So let's select our move tool, selecting that frame, and let's duplicate that one, pressing Alt or Option key. Then I'm gonna rotate it, holding Shift key. Then here in our control bar we can access wrapping options. So currently we have no text wrap. We can wrap around bounding box or we can wrap around object. So let's select that one, and that will be opening text wrap panel. So let's move our shape, and it's pushing our type as you can see. And of course we're gonna remove that fill color, so selecting none. We can move our shape a bit inside using arrow keys on keyboard. Also, instead of using arrow keys to move that shape, we could have used that option in here, which will be offsetting that frame. And also we can wrap to both right and left, or even one side. So it's really fun using that text wrap panel. Make sure you experiment with that one and try these different wrapping options as well. And remember that you can also invert that one anytime, which might be interesting in some scenarios and definitely not in that case. So let's undo that. And now guys, we're almost done with that design. Zooming out, pressing W key to check our design. And as you can see guys, we have a very beautiful design, aesthetically pleasing. However, still we're gonna be covering 2 more aspects in InDesign: layers panel and how to draw some vector shapes in InDesign as well. So first of all, let's close that panel in here, opening that layers panel. You can see that we have 2 layers in here. I've created that one before. However, in these 2 pages, we have all our design elements on one single layer, which might be tedious in some cases. Of course, not the best organized way to work. So that's why we're gonna be creating another layer. And remember guys, you can be moving your design elements from one layer to another by expanding that layer. And maybe you can move your type to that layer, or even your images or your grids or whatever. And speaking of grids, if you didn't move them to a separate layer and lock that layer, you can lock them from here, so you don't accidentally move them and miss your layout grid. Pressing W once again and closing that layer, locking that one, and let's zoom in. I'm gonna be drawing a vector frame around our type, just like that one in here. Let's squeeze that column a bit. And let's lock that layer and rename that layer vector frame. Just reminding you guys to rename your layers and don't be like me. Anyway, let's select our rectangle tool, then drawing a rectangle, and let's change its color, that gray, and let's change its width to 0.75. Switching to move tool, and now let's convert that lower left corner into a rounded one, and you can easily do that by double clicking that yellow square in here. Then we can move these corners to have rounded corners like so, or even we can control only one of them. Let's undo that, holding shift key and dragging that one. Actually, I need to nudge that title a bit lower, so let's unlock that layer, selecting title, then reducing my frame's height. Now let's go ahead and borrow that square in here, selecting that one, Alt or Option key to duplicate it, and let's move that one to our vector text frame layer by expanding that layer and hovering over that blue square and dragging that one all the way to here. Now you can see that one has a green color, changing its opacity to full, and let's reduce its size, holding shift key, opening layers panel again, locking that layer and that one too, and let's reduce that one size again. I wanna double check how it looked like, so we're gonna be drawing something like that, and also another square in here. So let's duplicate that one in here. I'm gonna draw another rectangle on top of that one. Just to have the same size, deleting that one, switching colors, and make it gray. Now let's align that square and that frame, selecting both of them while holding shift key. I'm making sure to select that frame by clicking again on that one. You can see that highlighted green stroke. Then go into align panel. Make sure that you have that aligned to selection, aligning to left. And now let's duplicate that one, deselecting everything, selecting my square, Alt or Option key, dragging that one all the way to here, changing its color to black, then dragging that one. Then let's duplicate that square, and let's add a rounded corner as well in that part, double clicking on that yellow square, shift key and selecting only that one. Looks nice. And let's select everything on that layer by clicking in here, and let's group them so we can easily move that frame anytime. Zooming out and pressing W, deselecting that frame. Actually guys, it's totally up to you if you would like to keep that frame. If you would like to go even more minimal, you can disable that layer and it's gonna look nice as well. So here you have it guys, and as you can see, using that layout grid saved us so much time, and what's really left in here is double checking that file and exporting that one. Alright guys, finally we finished designing our brochure and it's time to print that one. However, we're not gonna send that file as test to the commercial printer. We need to clean our document a bit and also put our cover along with inside pages in one document. So currently, for example, we don't need to have that grid within our document, otherwise it's gonna be printed. So we're gonna be deleting those two pages, 6 and 7. Pressing shift key and selecting these two pages, and also 4 and 5, holding shift key and selecting these two pages. And it's highly recommended that you save a copy from that document so you can have that grid maybe as a reference for future designs. So let's drag these pages to that recycle bin. Okay, And let's go ahead and save a copy from that file, File, Save As, and let's call that one Final. And let me show you guys how we can bring our cover from another document. So here in that document we have our cover, and let's remove that cover in here, selecting everything, delete, and back cover as well, delete. Going back to that document, selecting that front cover elements, all of them. Then we can go to edit, copy, selecting our first page, edit, paste in place. We didn't get our image. Let's go back. We have that one locked in place. So expanding our layer and unlocking that one, selecting that image alone, Command or Control C, going back to our document again, then paste in place. Now it's on top of our elements. Let's arrange that one. That's our image in here. We can drag that one all the way to the bottom. So currently we do have our front cover in place. Let's go ahead and grab back cover elements, selecting these elements in here, Command or Control C, going back to our document, selecting our back cover, which is page 4, then edit, paste in place, and now we can send that document. However, let me show you guys another scenario. Let's say that's a cover design. Just hypothetically, we're imagining that how we can be copying these elements and separating them like so. Let's delete that cover for a second and zooming in. Currently in that case we do have an image going across our two pages, and also we have that rectangle in here, or that square. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna be selecting everything on that spread. Make sure you don't have any locked elements, then copying everything, pressing Command or Control C, going to that page 1, then going to edit, paste in place, then going to back cover, double clicking on page 4, edit, paste in place. Then we can press W, then start maybe removing these elements, delete, and collapsing that frame to our bleed area and deleting that text, selecting that square and drag it all the way to here. And let's do the same as well to our cover, double clicking in here. That should be our imaginary cover. So pressing W again, clipping that image to bleed area, or dragging that side of that frame, deleting these elements in here, and dragging that one as well. So that's how you might be collecting your covers. Anyway, let's undo that and see how we can create a package folder for our design. So now we have our front and back cover and inside of our brochure as well. So currently to create a package folder, we can go to File, Package, and you might also need to review everything before you export your package folder, and we're gonna be talking about pre-exporting checklist in another video. However, you should be good to go if you don't have any errors. As you can see in here, no errors, and also you don't have any missing links or spelling mistakes. And you can also review that summary in here, check your fonts, links and images. You can also check to show problems only if you do have anything in here. Currently we do have two colors using RGB color space, and simply you can change their color space to CMYK either in Photoshop or so. However, as you can see guys, we're only using black and white colors, and that's why it doesn't really matter if we're using RGB or CMYK. We don't have any colors within our images, so we should be fine in that brochure. And also we do have colors and inks. You can double check that you're using the right Pantone color or our brand color in that brochure, which is that red in here. Then we have print settings, and we should be good to go. We can click on package. It's asking to save that file, and that's why we created a copy before. It's final, as you can see, so let's save that one. And in that package folder, it's gonna be creating links folder, including these images or any other graphic elements. Also, it's gonna copy fonts except Adobe's fonts, but that's totally fine anyway because everyone should be using Creative Cloud subscription. So once he opens your InDesign file, he can activate these fonts. And basically Adobe is doing that to protect their fonts. And also it's gonna update your graphic links in package. And it's gonna include IDML file format, which is the same InDesign file we have in here, but this one will be compatible with older versions of InDesign. And also it's gonna include a PDF file format. You can select your PDF preset from here. Currently we do have high quality print selected. Then we can create the package. Needless to mention as well that you might need to select your location and make sure you're saving that one in the right place. So clicking in here, package, okay. And let's go ahead and check that one. So that's our package folder. We do have fonts folder and we do have links, including our used images, and also Illustrator file, including that logo in vector. And we do have IDML file format for older InDesign versions and INDD file format for Adobe InDesign Creative Cloud version or CC. And we do have a PDF file format. And also guys, we do have other export methods within InDesign. Though using package folder is amazing, as you can see, it's gathering everything within your document in one nice, neat, organized folder. You can also export other formats as well from InDesign. So if we go in here, you can find that icon. Also, you can create a package from here. You can also quick export as PDF or share that one for review, maybe with your client. And you can publish online as well if you're creating maybe an ebook using InDesign. And also we do have export settings, so you can export different formats as well. So you can only export PDF print file, which we had already in our package folder. And you can also export Adobe PDF Interactive, which is gonna be an InDesign file that you're designing for online uses. You're not gonna be printing that one. Maybe an ebook or online design including links and buttons. And it could include animation as well. And yes, you can create some animation within InDesign, by the way. And mainly when you're creating ebooks using InDesign, you're gonna be publishing in EPUB, either one of these formats, not mainly Adobe PDF Interactive. And also you can export a JPEG out of your pages, or even PNG file format or HTML. And also you can access that export from file. So let's cancel that. We do have the same one in here, file, export, and you do have the same options as well in here, share for review, publish online, and so on and so forth. So guys, if you haven't been practicing already, it's time to go ahead and start designing a similar brochure. You can design something similar exactly like that one in here, or you can create a design about something you might be interested in. However, I need you guys to create a 4 pages design, and by doing so, you will be ready for our coming comprehensive InDesign project. We're gonna be designing 16 pages booklet in InDesign, and we're gonna be talking about more tools, tips, and tricks, and we're gonna discover more design grids and techniques as well. And most importantly, you will be able to present your work in a very strong way.